Hello and welcome to the Gothic Unicorn. In my last video I showed you how I lit this fireplace and turned it into a warm, glowing coal fire. However, I got to thinking that a coal fire without certain accessories is never going to be particularly successful. So today I'm going to set out to make those accessories. So let's get on with it. So what I've done is I've pulled out things that I know I'm going to use today, and there's a few other things that I might use that I haven't pulled out yet, and there's a couple of things that I need to work out, but I haven't fathomed out what I'm going to use for it, but I'll get there. So I'm going to start at the bottom of my pile. It's some recycled food packaging, just some ordinary cardboard box that you find in any kitchen, the usual thing that I use. I've also got some cardstock, which is 160 GSM, and this is the stuff that I will put through my printer, and I've got this because it's nicely flexible, and that'll be important for the one thing that I'm going to make. I've got some toothpicks, I've got some beading wire, and I've got my selection of hole punches, circle punches rather. I want them for the circles, not for the holes. And yeah, I think we'll take it from there. I'm going to begin by making my coal scuttle. Now, for ages, when I got this idea, I was calling it a coal bucket, but it is a coal scuttle, I think. Or is it a shuttle? Something like that. It's the thing that holds the coal next to the fire anyway. And I'm starting off with the biggest of my hole punches, which is approximately 16 millimeters. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to punch 2 of these out. Actually, I think I'm going to punch 3. I'm going to be a bit generous with this. So I've got 3 here, and I am going to glue them and make myself a nice sturdy base. So that'll be my first step there. What I've already done is I've got some of the 160 GSM cardstock, and I have glued 2 pieces together. It's only actually on one bit of this because I don't need a lot, but that's going to be the main body of my coal holder, and it's still at 2 layers. It's still nicely flexible, so I'm going to be able to get it to shape around my base. Now, I have already planned this, and I have a pattern. I figured out how long it needed to be to go around the circle, and using a little bit of copier paper, I have made a pattern which I'm going to trace onto there and cut out, and then that will get stuck around there once those are glued in place. So next step, glue. So here I've got my glued together pieces of food packaging, and I've got my template shape that I cut out of the double layered 160 GSM cardstock. Now what I did is I got a tube of beads, and I've just used that to wrap this piece around to put some curve into it. It's not quite the right curve for that, it's not quite small enough, but it does mean that this will now go around the base far easier. Now, my next step is to obviously glue this into place, which will have to be done bit by bit because it never takes first time. And then I will probably give it a base coat of black acrylic paint. It's my usual base coat for most things, unless I want a really bright and shiny look to something, in which case I'd use white instead. But yeah, so let's get gluing. Now my coal scuttle is obviously now all stuck together and painted. I have also added a handle out of the 24 gauge beading wire. I literally just cut a piece and bent it, and then all it is inside is it's just bent over and pushed against the sides. You could actually leave it a bit looser so it'll move, but I wanted it to stand up like that. Now, I'm undecided at the moment whether to go with a silver finish or a copper finish. I'm leaning towards copper, although that's not the usual sort of material for fire accessories, simply because I like the look and it's going to show up far better against the fireplace. So yeah, I just need to put that final coat of paint on and then I can get on with filling it. Now, to fill it, I'm going to use some coal made out of air dried clay, which is sitting here. And I've got a larger piece to go in the bottom to sort of fill the bulk out, and I've got some smaller pieces. And obviously this is all going to be painted black, which is why I need to paint that nicely metallic so you can see it, and glued in. So that is well underway for sorting that out. So I just need to decide what colour I'm going to paint it and we can get on with it. Now, I finally decided what colour I was going to paint the coal scuttle, and I didn't go with either silver or the copper. When I was looking for the copper paint, I realised I'd got this metallic old gold, and actually it's a bit brassy, so I don't use it very often. But I realised that actually brass was quite a good choice for the stuff to go around the fireplace. And as my grandmother, when I was small, used to have lots of ornamental brasses around her gas fire, I decided to go with brass. Now, I've done my usual very rough paint job because I don't want this to look like it's been kept nice and shiny and you know, particularly well looked after. So it's now painted, and I just need to stick the coal in. Now, I have stuck my coal into my coal scuttle, and I just want to add a little final touch. Now I'm going to use a little bit of glue, which of course I didn't have ready because I forgot about it, and I'm just going to put a bit of glue in a few places. Not a massive amount, just a bit. And then I've got some eyeshadow. Now, you could use chalk, but I'm using eyeshadow because it's some that I picked up cheap. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this cotton swab to pick up some of the dust, and I'm going to put this over the glue, and then once it's dry I will shake off the piece over my bin because I'm making enough of a mess with it anyway, and it will hopefully look a bit like the coal dust that you do get when you have a bucket of coal, and give it another dimension. And so here we have my completed coal scuttle with enough coal to keep the fire going for quite a while, hopefully. The fireside accessories that I want to make is more commonly known as a companion set. Now, a companion set, from what I can see from looking, generally includes between 3 and 5 pieces and a stand that they live on. Now, I'm going with 3 pieces because I'm not being too over zealous in this, and I'm going to be attempting to make a little brush, a poker and a little shovel, which you use with the brush for cleaning up ashes. So I'm going to actually start with the stand, and I have begun with the smaller 2 of the old punches that I got out for this project and some of my food packaging board, and I've taken 2 circles from each of the punches and I've stacked the 4 up to make what will become the base of my stand. I'm also using a cut down toothpick. This is going cut down so that it is approximately 1.5 inches high. I figured that about 18 inches is probably a suitable sort of height for a real companion set. So that's what I've gone with. And I have glued a little bead, this little plastic pearl, onto the bottom. That's actually on what was the point of my toothpick, which I've just nipped off. And I'm going to put a hole in there and stick that, let me show you that way. I'm going to actually stick that into the card so that it's nice and secure. And then that's going to form the base of my stand. Now on the top I'm going to use another bead, just happens to be a different colour, and I'm going to use some of this beading wire to make 3 hooks to hold the 3 pieces that I'm going to make. I'm simply going to form a hook out of the wire that's a bit bigger than I actually want, and I'm going to put 3 of them together, put the bead over the top, and probably going to put them so that they come out of the top, so they'll be more sort of like this. Can you see that? This kind of a shape, so they'll come out and over, and then I can make a little piece there that can then be glued on the top of the stick. At least that's my plan. It could change because, as you know, nothing's set in stone around here. So I've got my little stand stuck together now. Obviously it needs painting, but as you can see, I've made my little hooks to go on the top, which is a simple S shape basically. The only thing you need to do is make sure that whatever bead you're going to use on the top is actually big enough to put in the number of wires that you want to put. I wanted to use quite a thick wire, which is a 24 gauge, but obviously if I'd wanted to put more hooks I would have to have used a thinner gauge wire. I'm going to leave this to set for a bit longer, and then it's all going to get a coat of first black paint and then a finish coat. But as I say, I'm going to let that set because there's some different pieces stuck together there. And I'm going to start on the bits to hang off it. Now I've actually put the easiest one together already, which is my poker. Now a poker is ostensibly a metal stick with a bit of a point so that you can move your coals or whatever around. And all I've done is I've cut a toothpick down. In this case it was to about 1.25 inches. Let me just check this. Yes, I cut the actual toothpick down to 1.25 inches, and then I've made a little hanging loop at the top. Now I've done this with a smaller bead than I was using on the stand. These ones are 3mm pearls, little plastic pearls. Brilliant for this. And then I've used some of the same wire and I've just bent it over, made a little loop, and then stuck the 2 ends into the pearl, and then stuck the pearl onto the top. Now again, this is going to need painting, and again I'm going to let it to set properly because it hasn't been glued all that long, and although it's in place I need the glue to cure properly. So I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to work on the other pieces. Now I've got the pieces here to put my little shovel together, and I've got again a piece of toothpick. This one it's about 7/8 of an inch. Size, it all depends on you know. And then I've made a little shovel piece, which I've done again with my 160 GSM cardstock. I've stuck 2 pieces together and I made a little shovel. Now I did this by cutting one piece and folding up the sides and shaping them, and then I've stuck another piece across the end just to sort of finish it and to give me somewhere when I stop dropping it to glue the toothpick on, and then I've got my little loop again, and that will be glued on the end. So I need to glue all of that together. Just make sure that it's not too long for hanging on my stand. It shouldn't be if I've worked it all out right, but you know, these things can happen. So that is the next step, is a bit more gluing. And I just want to give you a quick little look at this now that I've glued it together. I have had to shorten that slightly. I should probably have cut it to about 3/4 of an inch in the first instance, but you live and learn, don't you? And you can see what it's made of before I actually put any paint on. If I just turn it over, you can see the folds and the bits stuck on. So there we have our little shovel. To make my brush, I'm again using a piece of toothpick. Again, it's been cut down to somewhere between 3/4 of an inch and 7/8 of an inch. I've got my little hanging loop again, made in the same way with a 3mm pearl, and I've got a 4mm pearl. Now the 4mm pearl is going to be used to hold the bristles, which are coming off this cheap little paintbrush that's been hanging around for a while. Now I'm going to try and glue a chunk of the bristles off this paintbrush together and stick them into there so that I can form a little brush for sweeping up the ashes. And here we have my brush. Now, to make it look quite well used, because obviously I want it to be well used, I have stuck some of the bristles at funny angles, so they look like it's not in the best of conditions, but I like it, and those really are bristles, and you really could sweep with it if you wanted. And it's now ready for paint, so there we have it, my little brush. All the pieces of my companion set are now complete and have been painted with a matte black acrylic paint as a base coat. Now I'm going to paint these with the metallic old gold that I used for my coal scuttle, so they'll match and it'll look brassy. And yeah, I'm not sure how well you can see that because of course I'm having to hold it at a bit of an angle, but they all hang quite nicely, it all sits quite nicely, and I think it's going to look great when it's finished on the side of my fireplace. And here we have my completed companion set in its nice brassy finish. I'm pleased with it. Obviously it's not showing off to its best advantage because they all want to move. You could glue the pieces into place so that they're attached, certainly at the top on the hooks, and even to the central pole of the holder. But I'm quite happy with it, and I think it's going to look great by my fireplace. So that's my fireplace accessories completed. I am quite happy with this, and I think I have fulfilled my aim at the beginning, and I hope you've enjoyed coming along for the journey. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, bye.